Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? It's Mr. Snowdall here, and I'm back once again. This time, I'm here with my reactions for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I hope you all enjoyed it, and please feel free to comment below any of your thoughts on the race. So let's start off by recapping my race predictions before we end up getting into the nitty gritty reactions to things. I made four predictions and I got, well, let's say 2.9 of them right. First off is that Sonoda would outdo Gasly. Yuki ran an absolutely brilliant race and made his way up to 7th, with Gasly finishing only 12th. Not a bad first prediction to start off on. Next, we have an absolute mad one. Aston Martin points. Who would have actually thought it? I threw it out there as a wild card, and I even narrowed it down to Lance Stroll being the one to get the points. And would you believe they actually got a double points finish, with Vettel coming in P8 and Lance P10. Absolutely amazing performance from the team. Really great to see that every team now has got points. Although I won't lie, it does hurt a small bit that Williams are now at the back of the constructors again, but it is great for the competition. This one might be a little controversial, but it's the Ferrari double DNF. We had Sainz out in the very first corner due to his contact with Ricciardo, and it looked like Leclerc was out with only a few laps left. Amazingly, he managed to go from hitting the wall down into the pits, got a new front wing, got a new set of softs, and came back to claim P6, which was a great recovery by him. However, I am going to claim this one as correct purely because we had two crashes, one involving each Ferrari. So that was pretty goddamn close. I thought I had it when I seen him in the wall. So don't at me, I'm claiming it as a win. And then there was the one prediction I got wrong. Guan Yu Zhou outperforming Valtteri Bottas. Now, I'm actually delighted I got this one wrong because I'm a big fan of Bottas. I absolutely love him to bits, and he put in an amazing race to finish P5. I won't go into it in too much detail here. I'll cover it in a second in the race reaction. So there you have it. Those were my predictions that I got right and wrong. 3 out of 4 again is not bad at all at all. Let's see if I can continue this streak going on to the next few races. So be sure to like and subscribe to keep up with them. Although at this point I might as well start throwing up a spoiler warning with how many I'm getting right. So let's jump onto the race itself and my reactions to it. We might as well continue with the Bottas point I was on previously. And my god, is the combination of Bottas and Alfa Romeo absolutely amazing to behold. They have a serious quali speed, getting into Q3 regularly, as well as a great race pace, and to be fair, just some seriously wholesome content. If you haven't seen it already, I recommend going onto their Instagram page for brilliant videos, especially of them all cheering and clapping and toasting to their points over the last few days. As amazing as the result of P5 for Alfa Romeo is, I also think this is a weekend of what could have been. Bottas finished 8.3 seconds behind Norris in P3, and his pit stop was a little over 11 seconds. Now, being conservative, that's around 8 seconds longer than expected for a pit stop. We could have had Norris and Bottas fighting for a possible podium position. It would have been amazing to behold and really would have brought some life to the Grand Prix. Imagine the scenes if Bottas had gotten onto that podium. Redemption arc would have been completed, especially after the race last year here with himself and Russell. Hopefully we will get to see a Bottas podium before the season is out. For the Tifosi, this was a weekend to forget. Carlos Sainz was again out early in the race, bringing home 0 points, allowing Red Bull to close the gap up even further. Charles Leclerc also had a seriously unfortunate race, dropping to P3 from the start and never seriously threatening the Red Bulls at all. I think his only major hope was a slow stop for Perez, when he was covering off Leclerc as a safety stop towards the end. The spin also turned a damage reduction race into an absolute nightmare for the Ferrari team. In their home race and all the tifosi cheering them on, they dropped down as far as P9 before recovering to P6. Let's see what they can do in Miami and if they can pull back their winning streak. One interesting point of the race was the changeover period. So this is the time where the track is going from a wet track to a dry track, and where do you make the decision to stop and go from wet tyres onto dry tyres. So this brings massive potential to get it right. You get to come out on your dry tyres and gain 3 to 4 seconds a lap on the people on the old wet tyres. But if you get it wrong, you're risking slipping, sliding, causing damage to your tyres, and possibly ending up in the wall and causing a lot of damage to yourself. So this is where it's key for teams to get right. Now normally this is a bit easier for them to judge because the dry line shows up, they come in, they get out again on their slicks. But in this race that wasn't as easy of a call, and the reason for that was that they thought there'd be more rain going on later on in the session, maybe like 5 to 10 minutes into the dry period. So what would happen here is they'd come in, they'd pit onto their dry slick tyres. It would cost them maybe 20 to 30 seconds to do this, and then they might gain 3 to 4 seconds a lap, so they might have 2 to 3 laps of this, and then they'd have to pit again onto another set of wet tyres. So it would be a risk reward strategy, and they didn't really want. Now there's 2 teams that I thought would take a bit of a higher risk and gamble with this drying off period. The first is Williams with Alex Albon. They need to have a kind of madder strategy at the moment and be bold in order to really gain their positions. So I thought they'd bring Albon in, strap on a set of hards and see what happens. I don't think they'd risk it, oddly enough, with Nicholas Latifi, just to be sure, because they can't risk the damage anymore. Maybe that's why they didn't bring in Albon, because if there had been a crash with the cost cap, it would have caused them a lot of hassle. The other team I actually would have thought of is Hamilton in Mercedes. He was quite far back at the time. He wasn't really doing much and he was a bit caught. They wouldn't overly care over a few points, but the chance to really leapfrog and show big strategy, change and risk is something I would have thought they'd taken. So again, a little surprising that Hamilton didn't take that option. It actually ended up being Daniel Ricciardo who was first in, I think, if I'm remembering that correctly, and it was Leclerc and Verstappen that came in last. Now, I get Daniel coming in first because his diffuser was damaged, so you might as well take the risk with Daniel, see what happens, and then you can bring in Norris. So it's a great learning point for McLaren, say. But Leclerc and Verstappen coming in the same lap is something I was a little surprised by. Ferrari were ready for Leclerc to come in. They had the tyres out and they were doing a will they won't they with Perez. They were going to do the opposite of whatever Perez did at all. But Perez ended up gaining a massive undercut on Leclerc because of it. They'd already seen that the times were going better. Like Ricciardo had done very well when he'd gone out, so they had the data there. So I'm surprised Ferrari didn't just go with it and instead went with the opposite, because they were never really going to overcut by 1 lap against the slicks. So bit of a silly mistake there, but look, it's all 2020 in hindsight, so we'll see. Now Max I can understand, because again he was in a good position, he was well out ahead, he could have that kind of buffer time to make the decision and see how it dried. But again, it's Max Verstappen, you kind of expect him to come in early and make the bold choice. So I don't know, maybe we're seeing a bit more of a sensible approach to him this year. Overall, this wasn't the greatest races in terms of action on track, but there was some solid drives and a good mix up to the standings. So overall, not a bad race. I feel like everyone was kind of miles apart on track, apart from 3 drivers, which were Albon, Gasly and Hamilton. We did get some great shots of them throughout the race, but it wasn't really a race between them. It was Albon was there, he was bringing Gasly along. Gasly didn't overly threaten him. Hamilton kind of went the outside into turn 1 a couple of times, but again, it wasn't really threatening, so there wasn't much action. But Do you know what? At least it kept it some bit entertaining for us that it might happen. Yeah, so that's my reaction to the race. Overall, like I say, there wasn't too much going on, so not a lot for me to discuss. But if you think I missed anything, please do drop a comment. Remember, I'll be back here again for the Miami Grand Prix, the first time ever that we'll have this, so it should be very, very interesting. Be sure to check back again for my predictions. Let's see if I can keep that streak up. So please like and subscribe to see those videos in the future. Thank you very, very much for listening, and please have a great day.